So I want to ask you this too. Your fiance. So you're starting a new business. It's not always easy. Talk a bit about your fiance, Nikki, and just how supportive she's been.
Yeah, absolutely. So I honestly don't know if I would even. It's tough, right? So we're having a tough situation. The pandemic hits. I lose my job. At that point, we were still getting, I was getting unemployment. Plus, there was that extra $600 a month that was coming. So we weren't feeling it yet, right? We weren't feeling the pandemic. So I decide to ask her to marry me on July 31st of 2020. And 2 hours later, I went to the bathroom. I walk out. She's on the ground. She tripped over her own feet and spiral fractured her ankle in 3 places. So at that point, I can't even go to the hospital because the pandemic was happening. Now I had the idea for this, but when something like that happens to where now she loses her form of income, she's sitting next to me on a couch for 3 months. I make one out of it with a cricket, and I had a talk with her. I said, listen, this, I love you, you love me. This could be very tough. We could really be tough for this year if I go for this, because there's gonna be money spent, right? You have to do R&D and all this, the provisional patent.
So now you're talking about jumping in, starting Slab strong, and how you're already making those decisions right then and there with her. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, and so it was almost like she expected it, right? Because I said, we had a conversation. This could be very tough. We're gonna grind it out. We're not living in the best area of Providence right now. I really wanted to get us out of there, and she's all for it. And then the most beautiful thing is her parents are all for it, right? Because I want to be a man, right? We want to start a family, and to have the support from not only her but her parents and my parents too, and my brother, was just like the best feeling. And that's truly when the motivation started, where we got nothing to lose. Let's go for it. If you have my back, wherever we are, as long as we're together, it's love, right? So that stress just went off my back. But she really means it too. Like, she wasn't faking it. Like, we're grinding it right now. And it's just been, I couldn't ask for anything more from her, honestly.
Yeah, it's that you're fortunate to have a good woman in your life who's there to support you, especially when you're going to embark upon the entrepreneurial journey with not a ton of resources to keep you afloat, right? So that's super important. So kudos to her and congratulations to you on that. So let's talk about Slab Strong. You're wearing the hat. You're you've got your logo. I love it. Your face is becoming very recognizable in the hobby because you've done some cool marketing out there. What I want to know is, though, how did you or what's the story behind you identifying the need for a product like Slapshot? Where were you when you had the idea to create this holder? And then we'll explain to the audience what it is exactly. But what was the root cause? What was the catalyst for this idea?
Well, in the beginning, I just wanted to simplify it. I wanted to make slabs look cooler. And what I mean by that is, so we all have our personal collection, right? Maybe you have a rookie Jordan, I have a rookie Jordan, but I said to myself, wouldn't it be cool if we could somehow change the color of slab? Maybe I want my blue frame around the red, maybe you want red around. So it started off with simply just color changing. Like, I took a screw down, which is about the same size as a PSA slab, and I made it with Cricut stickers. And I was like, okay, this looks cool. I can see what's happening here. And then when you start looking at what happened with the value of cards, I said to myself, well, the next step is the brand of grading company is actually important now, because now you have different monetary values, right? So once I 3D printed my first case, I said, oh, it works, right? It looks good, but it was too brittle. I had done a few tests. It wasn't protective. It looked cool, but it wasn't protective. And then so I went to injection molding, and that was when, like, okay, now it works. Now I can really test it. Now I start talking to my manufacturer. What can we do? What kind of colors can we make? And it's just been off to the races since then.
And so, I mean, I find it interesting that the initial idea was actually more of an aesthetic thing than a protecting it, because now I think your tagline is defend your slabs, right?
Right.
So now it's more about protecting the slab itself, and so it doesn't fall off a table and crack, which has happened to probably most of us. Is that so? At what point did you realize that, hey, this isn't just about aesthetics or dressing up the card? It's now a safety feature.
So that's actually a kind of a funny story. So I have a patent, and so when I first go to my patent attorney, he tells me you don't have a design patent. And I take offense to that because I don't understand, right? I'm not a lawyer. I don't get it. I said, what do you mean? Like, I designed it. It looks great. And he was like, it's okay. Calm down. You have a utility patent for the functionality of grading slaves. And that's when it really hit me that this is a new product to the industry and that I can really do something with it, because once you get to the utility part of the patent, the actual design doesn't matter as long as the end game is the same. So I never intended for it to be a protective device. It went from making it look cool to once I encased it and I started dropping it, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I can do now.
So did you drop it by accident or did you drop it on purpose?
No, I dropped it on purpose. I did a few things. I boiled it. I fried it in a frying pan. Like, I was making dumb videos, so I was like frying it. I boiled it. I put it in my fridge. I threw it off my second floor balcony. I stood on it. Yeah, I just was having a lot of fun. And I was trying to show that it worked, not realizing, and I know we're going to talk about it, but not realizing it's the best way to sell it. I don't have to say anything. I can just throw it at you. Literally, just throw it at you.
Okay. So you have the idea, you do your first copy 3D printing, too brittle, you go to injection molding, you get your first sample, you put it on the card or on the slab, and then you start experimenting with just how durable this holder is going to be. What's your next move after you realize that you were onto something? What was the next move you made?
Well, I started reaching out to people, right? Because you can have the best idea in the world. I could have my patent pending, all this great stuff. But if no one ever knows about it, like, I could have been wrong, right? I know I loved it, but it's my baby, right? I'm going to love it regardless. I had to start showing people. And I just got so much love from guys like Peter Pac-Man, from my guy Renee from Storage Wars, my guy Marlon Wells out in California, one of my local card shops. So I'm like, okay, there's the motivation. And then I see my friend Corey from Show Your Slabs. I start seeing his ads and I say to myself, that's a really cool product. I want this guy to know who I am, and I want to know if he thinks my product is cool. That was like how I was going to judge it, right? Because he's in the industry already. I ended up just sending him a Facebook message, and he said, I love it. Do you want to meet up? I think it was a few days later. It might have been the next week, but I drove down 6 hours to Baltimore. And so I'm showing him, and I tell him that I have this way to prove that it works by throwing it. Now, I never threw it in front of anybody at that point. He has a second floor deck, and he says, do you want to go throw it? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, oh no, like, what if something happens? But it all worked out. I went to the second floor. He stayed down at the bottom. I threw it at his feet, and we've been honestly best friends, real good friends since that moment.